So in addition to taking care of the hormones, we also need to look at cleaning out the liver, because the excess hormones that are generated by our bodies, estrogen, progesterone, gets dumped in the liver. So if you're going to do anything with the hormones, you have to go hand in hand and also look at the liver.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining in to another episode of Beyond the Zodiac, Astrology Coffee Talk. This is Astro-Herbalism. If you are unfamiliar with me and new to this channel, my name is Brett. I'm an herbalist, astrologer, and educator, and I'm here with my longtime friend and co-host, Bonnie Landsee, who is a master herbalist and the head creatrix of Urban Herbalist. Welcome, Bonnie. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Got my cup of tea.
Hooray!
We're going to spill the tea about Libra.
We are going to spill the tea about Libra, as the sun on September 22nd did hop into Libra, kicking off Libra season, which is the first part of fall, which cardinal signs, Libra is a cardinal air sign, and that is the beginning of a season. So this is now making that transition into the second half of the year. So we're going to talk about all things Libra and all things herbal associated with Libra. So Libra rules our kidneys, our ovaries, our lumbar, our spine, and our sense of balance. So it talks about like our balance within the body, the balance of hormones, our acid-alkaline balance, our balance of fluids within the body, and it also deals with our kidneys and our adrenal glands. So we are going to talk a little bit about stress, and because it also, aside from the kidneys and the adrenals and all the adrenal hormones, one of the big things that Libras have an issue with is cortisol. So, Bonnie, how is your stress these days?
My stress is great, but I'm not a Libra. Well, I'm not a Libra. However, my mother was a Libra, and I witnessed a lot of... If I'd known back then what I know now, I could have helped her. But, I was a kid. But yeah, I'll definitely pay attention to your Libra friends and make sure that they're okay. If they might need some lemon balm or something to calm them down.
Absolutely. And speaking of lemon balm, what are some of the herbs that you would associate with Libra?
Well, I would look at Libra is the sign of justice, balancing. So I would look at herbs that are calming, and I would also look at adaptogens, ones that can help boost up your system. Because one thing I noticed with, like I said, my mother was a Libra. She internalized all her stress. And she wanted to keep the peace all the time. She always did what she was told. But people like that, they internalize everything. So they need some stress relief and some adaptogen to help support their systems. And also, this is the one thing I learned today getting ready for this podcast. Libra is ruled by Venus, so we also have to look at the female reproductive system, particularly the ovaries. We have balance. There's 2 ovaries, fallopian tubes. So, female reproductive system, I know.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely think focusing on balance and also like stress and being adaptable. So like I always associate Libra season with the adrenals, and probably because I'm on like adrenal overload most of the time. So I always like to focus on the adrenals. And I think adaptogens are wonderful, and I think they're amazingly supportive. And I also like to focus on like Nervine tonics, like lemon balm or even chamomile, just because it's like so calming, and kind of like a sedative, because it kind of brings things back into balance, because not only does it affect digestion, so it calms and soothes your digestion, bringing that back into balance, and then also your nerves as well, because that is a big problem. And for me specifically, and I think a lot of people with a lot of Virgo placements will have that digestive issue during this time of the year and also during Virgo season, and especially now with Saturn being in Pisces, it's making an opposition to all things Virgo, and will soon go into Aries, making an opposition to all things Libra. So it is going to cause a little bit of extra strain on some of those systems astrologically. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. Let's talk about the female reproductive system.
Well, I notice these days, especially with all the chemicals, it affects hormones. Women younger and younger are having problems with their cycle. So, and it has a lot to do with the crap in the food. So, in addition to taking care of the hormones, we also need to look at cleaning out the liver, because the excess hormones that are generated by our bodies, estrogen, progesterone, gets dumped in the liver. So, if you're going to do anything with the hormones, you have to go hand in hand and also look at the liver. And as far as Libra also ruling the kidneys, I think Dandelion, even though probably not one traditionally associated with Libra, I think it's one that we could include. And also nettles is a great diuretic as well. And also it's a great nourishing herb. But we need to look at some herbs that help the female hormone system. And one of my favorites is, well, actually I have two favorites, Lady's Mantle, which is great for women that have problems with heavy flow, irregular menstruation. Lady's Mantle will help with that. And also fibroids. A lot of women are having problems with fibroids these days also. And another herb one more herb that is actually an Indian herb. It's not only helps the female system through whatever phase, whether you be, just getting into having your period, whether you're childbearing years or into menopause or past menopause, this herb will help balance you no matter what phase you're in. And that is Shatavari. It's an Indian herb, and it's also an adaptogen. So you kill two birds with one stone there. I love the meaning of the word. Shatavari means she who possesses 100 men. I guess that's the loose translation of it. But those are two of my favorite herbs.
I love that.
Two of my favorite herbs for women. Plus you've got, your gentler raspberry leaf, motherwort, things like that. But some of those you have to be careful what phase of life you're in as far as women go.
Right. And, even speaking of balancing like the hormones and, with Libra being about balance, Shatavari is actually used by men too, because it can regulate and balance testosterone. So it works on both the female hormones and the male hormones. A lot of people have been using Shatavari for like sports performance because it gives like that extra boost and will like regulate too much. Like if you have too much estrogen in your system, it will regulate that out of your body, which I think is a really cool thing with that. And I think being all about balance, I love the fact that you chose that herb, because that herb really does balance both systems, and it really does have like an effect. If you have too much, it will reduce it. If you don't have enough, it'll raise it. So yeah, I like that. I really like that. So what kinds of preparations would you use like Shatavari in?
I have the powdered root, and I just add that to my coffee. Or if I make a nourishing herbal infusion there. So I think a lot of people take it in supplement form, in a capsule form. I'm not a fan of capsules. I like to just add it, even if it is powdered, to whether I'm drinking a tea or coffee. Have you taken Shatavari?
Me too. I have not taken Shatavari. I've done some research on it, and I think I may actually start adding that into my herbal regimen. But I'm very much like you. I am not a fan of the pills. I'm not a fan of capsules. I don't think you get as much of it as you need, because you have to taste it to some degree in order for your liver to produce the enzymes to make it work. And so like taking things either as the powder form, adding it to smoothies, or also like extracts, like liquid extracts. I am definitely a fan of the extracts. I will make a liquid extract or a tea or something like that so I can taste what I'm taking in, even if it tastes nasty. I don't feel like Shatavari has the best taste.
Oh, it does not. It does not. You got to add some honey with that. Let's see. I think I have some mention. Here we go. This is the powdered shatavari that I got. So I like to just take
Oh, that's very light
it
colored.
is. So I just like to take a half a teaspoonful of this and add it into whatever I'm drinking. Whatever concoction of the day I've got going on.
Well, you have to. That I think is the best way to take it. I think, putting it in your food and ingesting it that way, I think it's more bioavailable for your system. And it also allows you to absorb as much of it as you humanly possibly can. Otherwise, I think capsules really just kind of get lost in your intestines. And they're like, okay, we'll just open up and we'll put some of it in your intestines. Okay, that's about it. But yeah, I like the fact that you digest it, you process it, it goes through your digestive system, and then you fully absorb all of it. Now, Libra is also about balancing your acid alkaline, which I find is really interesting. So do you find that with the dietary stuff that we have going on and all the modifications to our food, that it really does mess with people's acid alkaline balance?
Oh, I believe 100% it does. Because of all the chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe a lot of cancers require an acidic environment for them to grow. The more you turn your body alkaline, the less the cancer can grow. Now, with the uptick of cancer rates, 100% believe that has to do with our diet and all the chemicals that are in it.
I totally agree. I definitely agree with that. I think that food is less nutrient dense than it used to be. You can look at the scientific research when they test the nutrients, even organic food. You really have to start modifying the soil and start getting the most out of it and try and get organic as much as possible so that they don't use pesticides and modulators on it. Because you're right. I think it does mess with your acid alkaline balance. I find it really interesting that countries that don't allow genetically modified food actually have lower instances of cancer, lower instances of heart disease. People don't have weird food allergies like gluten and dairy and things like that. You look at most of Europe, Europe doesn't allow many modified foods. And so I think that it really does play into health as a whole. Their system is very balanced, even though they eat bread and they have, really thick, rich sauces, and they eat like fresh produce and cheesecake and sugar and all this stuff. They don't have many of the issues that we have here. And I think that is very startling. It's very surprising.
It is, in fact, the only way you can guarantee your food is decent is if you grow it yourself here. Because they have managed to disguise a lot of the chemicals. Some foods that are called natural really are not. And it's very hard through the labels and figure out what's natural and what's not. And that's hard to do, especially when we're looking at convenience type food, because not everybody has time to grow a vegetable garden. Not everybody's got a herd of cattle out back or chickens that they get their eggs from. So it really is an uphill battle for us to actually maintain a healthy diet. One of the things that I do to try to keep my body alkaline is I drink the lemon water every morning. Because even though you think of lemon as acidic, when it enters the body, it becomes alkaline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that actually works really well. And that's also a really great liver cleanse too. So if you're looking for a way to cleanse your liver and get things moving in the morning, that lemon water in the morning really does kind of release some of the toxins from your liver and kind of flush it out of your system. And once it gets out of your system and gets to the kidneys, that's where Libra comes into play. Because Libra itself isn't the kidneys. It's the distillation process of urine, and of toxins and of removing toxins. And so I think that's fascinating because it's not actually the kidneys themselves, but the distillation process of the urine, which I think many people have that kind of, many people don't know that about Libra because it is all about fluid as well and that fluid balance in our body. Because if we have too much of one mineral or too much of another, it messes up our fluid balance and our equilibrium. So what are some of the ways that we can make sure our kidneys are balancing out the fluids in our body?
Well, I think first of all, we should make sure we're all drinking enough water, getting enough fluids, cut back on the soda. In fact, I would, unless I'm out somewhere, I don't drink soda, period. That's just, there's so much crap in it. Just stick with water, coffee, tea, and keep enough fluid in your body to flush out the kidneys. Because if you don't flush them out, then the distillation process gets jacked up. So I mentioned
Absolutely.
nettles is great for not only providing nutrients, but is also a good diuretic.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my favorites is dandelion. And I do think dandelion is actually very closely associated with Libra because it does replace potassium in your body. And so potassium and sodium, those are the minerals that have the most control over our fluid balance. And so if you are having enough potassium and flushing out excess sodium, it keeps your body in a little bit more balance, and it keeps you a little bit less swollen, a little bit less puffy, a little bit less, just a little bit less weighed down by that. What else do you use for, restoring fluid balance?
One other, circling back to the dandelion, another great thing dandelion does is it helps clear out the liver. We consume
Absolutely.
way too much estrogen in the form of phytoestrogens with all the soy that's added to everything. You got soybean oil in everything. And that just makes our bodies go haywire with the estrogen, and the excess hormones, estrogen, gets dumped in your liver. So the dandelion helps clear that out too. That's what I have to add about the dandelion. Well, dandelion is just, I think
Absolutely.
dandelion should be recommended for every sign. It's just a great herb.
I do too. Dandelion, as an herbalist, as somebody who uses herbal remedies in their daily life, dandelion is my favorite. It is one that I take on a daily basis. It's definitely one that I take more than any other herb, just because it is so nutrient rich and it is useful for so many different things, from your digestion to your liver to your kidneys to your fluid balance to your blood pressure, really everything. It definitely has a multitude of uses. Now, speaking of blood pressure, being how Libra is ruled by Venus, it also has control over the venous system and the lymphatic fluid. So what kind of herbs would you recommend as, like, let's say, a cooler system? Like they have like a system that's a little bit more stagnant.
Well, if they have a cooler system, I would definitely go with a heating herb, like ginger. Or even if you're doing your lemon water in the morning, throwing a little pinch of cayenne pepper in there, something to heating to get it moving. And with Libra, it getting to be fall and getting to be cooler temperatures out, you need that little bit of heating to get your body going.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. This is definitely the time of year when we really should start looking at like what we can do for winter. Looking at some of those like preparations that we can make to get ready for that time of year. So what are some of the preparations that you start getting ready around this time of year?
Honestly, I don't really prepare anything. I might get some fire cider going so that I have it on hand for cold season, because that does take a while to make. But I really don't prepare anything. If I want to boost my immune system, I'll just make a tea. But if you were going to get prepared, I would suggest getting your tinctures going now of like your echinacea, or making your elder syrup, since elderberries are in season right now. What preparation?
Oh, the one that I do, I always do echinacea, like for cold and flu season. As soon as it starts getting to be about like October 30th, like around Halloween, I will start taking this. And I also use a lot of astragalus. So astragalus is the Chinese herb for longevity, but it's also a Chinese herb for boosting your immune system strength, stamina, and all that fun stuff. So I take a combination of the two of those as an extract to ward off cold and flus. And then I take ginger like it's going out of style. Ginger juice, ginger shots, ginger tea, ginger extract, powdered ginger in everything. I definitely take a lot of ginger. Not only does it help keep the circulation going, but it also helps with digestion. Warm, and it helps kind of balance out, balance out the temperature in your body. I tend to run a little bit colder. I have a cold Venus, which rules Libra. Mine tends to be a little bit on the cooler side as my Venus sits in Aquarius. And so cold weather has a very strong effect on my veins, my circulation, and, my overall kind of energy levels. So I definitely do what I can to pump it up. Going back to the kidney and the urinary tract system, let's talk about uva ursi and even corn silk, which is really good for that. What do you want to say about those?
Just that they're good for urinary tract infections, which a lot of women have problems with.
Right. And even they use a lot of like corn silk and uva ursi for urinary tract infections, along with cranberry juice.
Yeah.
Cranberry juice is actually now recommended really strongly by doctors before they prescribe antibiotics, which I was surprised.
Well, I think what happened is they prescribed Bactrim so much that it became...
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. I think diseases, bacteria, they adapt.
Yeah.
They totally do adapt to whatever we throw at it. So sometimes natural is better. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's, sometimes I think natural is better.
And I think we also
when
need
it comes
to look
to that.
at natural remedies nowadays, because some of the prescriptions that you normally get, even the antibiotics, you can't get them anymore because they are not manufactured here in this country. They come from overseas. So we have to rely on a supply chain. So I think it's very important that people need to learn more about herbs and start familiarizing themselves with herbs that can help them maintain their health because of the situations on in the world today, and we may not be able to access medications. And there are a number of reasons for that. I mean, right now we've got a looming longshoreman strike. Who knows what's going to happen with that? That could affect supply chain. So I think it's very important to learn about the herbs and which ones can help you the best, and learn how to take them and learn how to make the preparations. So all you Libras out there, get you some dandelion, get you some uva ursi.
Right.
But in all seriousness, I really think that people do need to start taking a look more at herbal medicine.
I agree 100% with that. I think that it's proactive. I think that it's a proactive approach to your own health, and it makes you responsible for it, puts you in the driver's seat, because you can listen. There are a number of doctors, one of them being, Dr. William Davis, who created the wheat belly diet and the undoctored plan. He very much so says that it is not a healthcare system anymore. It is a sick care system. And he's a renowned cardiothoracic surgeon. He was the founder of the heart hospital in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he is a doctor. And Dr. Gundry, Perlmutter, all these doctors who are coming out with natural health books. There's a reason for that, because they worked in the system for so long, and they understand that we need to be proactive when it comes to our health. We need to focus on our own preventative care, because the system may not be supportive enough at this point, right? The system may not be focused on preventative care. It may be focused on sick care. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's, I think, really one of the missions why we're here, is to talk about an aspect of herbal medicine. If you're into astrology and if you're into herbs, like, combine the two, because the key to your health is in your natal chart. It is in there. While you should never use it as a substitute for medical care, it is definitely informative, because your natal chart is a map of what your body needs. So listening to the cycles of the universe, right? Listening to the cycles of the seasons on our kidneys. This is the time to focus on our hormones. This is the time to focus on detoxifying our liver. Getting ourselves ready from the cooling of the summer months, right? Because we have to do a lot of cooling of our body in the summer up here in the, in the northern hemisphere, we do a lot of cooling of our body in the summer. Now we have to shift the focus into warming and shift the focus into warming the body. So I think it's really important that we kind of get back in touch with natural rhythms and the natural cycles.
100% agree. And speaking of warming, just a little honorable mention here, cinnamon, especially since it's pumpkin spice everything season, it's Halloween candy season. So maybe adding a dash of cinnamon into your coffee or your whatever you're drinking, your tea. You might want to do that to help your insulin.
Absolutely.
And cinnamon's warming. Cinnamon's warming too.
Yeah, cinnamon is very warming. And I love the fact that you mentioned that it balances your insulin levels, because it does. That's another thing that I think goes along with the Libra theme of balance. It is like balance your sugars, balance all the stuff you're putting into your body, because it is about finding like the moderation, and it's about finding like what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So I think that that's amazing that you mentioned that, because there are so many studies now of how cinnamon does help reduce blood sugar. Just as a disclaimer, towards the end, please take the information as being informative only. Consult your healthcare professional and work with them. But the information that we provide is purely for information purposes only.
Educational purposes only. We are not doctors. This information is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. I think that's the FDA disclaimer. You think I know it by now. I have to put it on everything, but yeah, this is informational, educational purposes only. We're not doctors. Please consult your healthcare provider before taking any herbal supplements. There, I think we covered all the disclaimers.
Right, absolutely. And, definitely work with your healthcare provider, because a lot of healthcare providers now actually are educating themselves on natural medicine. I know my primary care is, and I am surely a challenge to him every time I go in.
And especially if you are on regular prescription medication. Hopefully you have a healthcare provider that's open to natural medicine and would be willing to work with you and can bring you in every so often and check levels. If you start taking an herbal supplement and you're trying to lower your blood pressure medication, hopefully your healthcare provider is knowledgeable enough and knows what herbs for you to start taking and can monitor you and hopefully wean you off if possible. But that's something you definitely need to check with your provider.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, that along with making sure that we follow our own seasonal changes and we keep ourselves in alignment with the universe and how the universe is directing us and the flow of that energy, I think we're in a good space. And I think, we covered a lot. If you guys have any questions about Libra as a sign or any other herbal recommendations, please feel free to click the links in the description below. You will find links for both myself if you would like a medical astrology consultation, and you'll also find links for Bonnie for the wonderful products that she sells. I use many of them. She is fantastic. And check out her stores on Etsy, Amazon, and pretty much everywhere else.
Herbalist.com?
Where else are you, Bonnie?
Oh, gosh.
Yes, urbanherbalist.com.
Yes, and then Etsy, Amazon, Handmade. And also keep an eye out for, I've got a book coming out in October. So.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you. 10 herbs that can change your life.
That's so amazing. Yes. And she's an amazing teacher, an amazing author, and really just an amazing friend. So we definitely want to thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you found this content useful so that we can cross paths again. And then aside from that, we wish you a happy Libra season, and we'll be back with Scorpio.